Star Trek is world-renowned for exploring strange new worlds and big ideas about the human condition. But not every mission was welcomed with open arms. Over the decades, several episodes pushed boundaries so far they were pulled off the air, restricted, or quietly banned in certain countries. These weren't minor hiccups, they involved psychological horrors and social taboos that networks thought went too far. When you see what these episodes actually showed, it becomes obvious why they caused such a stir. Welcome to Prestige Buzz. Today, we're looking at 3 Star Trek episodes that were deemed too controversial for the airwaves. Number 3 is Miri, the Children of the Plague. The original series episode Miri begins as a mystery but descends into a nightmare. The Enterprise discovers a planet that is a physical duplicate of Earth, but the streets are silent. They soon encounter only children who have survived a global catastrophe. The Grups, grown-ups, are all dead, victims of a life extension experiment gone horribly wrong. The horror is twofold. First, the physical symptoms. Victims develop grotesque purple blotches before losing their minds and dying in a state of violent mania. Second, the children are actually over 300 years old, aging only 1 month per century. As the landing party contracts the virus, they face a ticking clock. The tension peaks when the children, driven by fear and a lack of adult guidance, swarm Captain Kirk in a violent, bloody mob. Because of its depiction of child violence and the disturbing nature of the disease, the BBC pulled Miri from the air after its initial 1970 broadcast. It remained banned from British airwaves for decades, deemed too unpleasant for family viewing. Number 2 is Plato's Stepchildren, the Kiss Heard Round the World. This episode is etched into television history for a single moment, the first televised interracial kiss between a white man, Captain Kirk, and a black woman, Lieutenant Uhura. In the story, the crew is held captive by the Platonians, a cruel race with telekinetic powers who model themselves after ancient Greece. To humiliate the officers, their captors forced them to kiss against their will. While NBC executives were nervous about how stations in the American South would react, the U.S. audience was surprisingly accepting. However, the international reaction was a different story. The BBC banned the episode entirely. While the official reason cited brutality and torture, many historians believe the real concern was the social fallout from the kiss in a more conservative overseas landscape. For years, one of Star Trek's most progressive moments was hidden from British fans. Number 1 is Whom Gods Destroy, the Asylum of Horrors. This is perhaps the darkest episode of the original run. The Enterprise arrives at a high-security psychiatric facility on the planet Elba 2 to deliver life-saving medicine. Instead, they find the asylum has been taken over by the inmates, led by the legendary but now insane Captain Garth of Azar. Garth is a shapeshifter who subjects Kirk and Spock to psychological and physical torment. The episode features scenes of intense madness, the assassination of a fellow inmate just to demonstrate power, and a high-stakes identity battle where Spock must figure out which Kirk is real and which is the shapeshifter. The BBC banned Whom Gods Destroy for its sadistic content and its portrayal of mental illness. They felt the mix of madness and torture crossed a line that science fiction should not cross, making it unsuitable for younger audiences until the mid-1990s. The franchise that dared to go further. To understand these bans, you have to understand the man behind the myth, Gene Roddenberry. He didn't just want to make a wagon train to the stars, he wanted to use science fiction as a mirror for real-life issues like racism, war, and class struggle. By setting these stories on distant planets, Roddenberry could bypass network censors and tackle controversial topics that were otherwise off-limits in the 1960s. He built a multiracial, multicultural crew at the height of the civil rights movement. Nichelle Nichols, Uhura, was so influential that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. personally convinced her not to quit the show, telling her she was part of history. This fearless spirit is why Star Trek became a multi-billion-dollar empire spanning over 13 films and a dozen TV series. From the 1966 debut to modern hits like Strange New Worlds, the franchise has influenced everything from the design of the mobile phone to NASA's Space Shuttle Enterprise. Other honorable mentions of censorship. The original series wasn't the only one to face the axe. The Next Generation episode Conspiracy featured a parasitic alien plot that culminated in a scene where a man's head literally explodes on screen. The BBC found the meat and fake blood practical effects too graphic for their standards. In Deep Space Nine, the episode Rejoined featured the franchise's first openly gay kiss. While it was praised by critics for its sensitive handling of LGBTQ+ themes, several local stations in the southern United States refused to air the episode unless the kiss was cut. Even the episode to the death had to be heavily edited. Originally, a fight scene featured 52 deaths. Censors cut it down to 20 to reduce the excessive brutality, leaving the episode feeling choppy and disjointed. An enduring legacy of accolades. Despite, or perhaps because of, this controversy, Star Trek has been showered with awards. In 1968, every single nominee for the Hugo Award for Best Dramatic Presentation was a Star Trek episode. It has won Emmys, Peabody's, and even an Academy Award for makeup in 2009. In 2024, the entire franchise received the Peabody Institutional Award for its lasting impact on culture and society. These banned episodes serve as a reminder of how daring Star Trek truly was. They challenged social norms and confronted the darker sides of humanity that networks weren't ready to face. Today, these stories are celebrated as milestones in the journey toward a more inclusive and thoughtful future. What do you think? Were these bans justified, or was the world just not ready for Roddenberry's vision? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden history of the Federation, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification for more exclusive stories from Prestige Buzz.